Hello, my long lost stitchy friends. Welcome to my neck of the woods. My name is Abby. I go by Mountain Mama Stitches here on YouTube, as well as on Instagram. And you have found my little corner of YouTube where I talk about all things cross stitch and cross stitch adjacent. It's been a while since I've recorded, but if you are a returning viewer, I appreciate you more than ever. I've always appreciated you, but I appreciate you more than ever for sticking around during my absence and staying subscribed to my channel so you would find out that I did eventually put a video up. If you're new here and just stumbled upon my channel, you are so very welcome. I am very excited you're here and would love to get to know you. So please, a returning viewer or new one, please leave me comments, drop comments, connect with me on Instagram, whatever you want to do. I am here. I'm here for the friends. That's why I started my Flosstube channel, was to connect with other cross stitchers around the world, to feel more connected and feel more part of a community. That's really important to me and I really value that. So I love any excuse to talk with people about cross stitch. So it has been 2.5 months since here's my cat. This is Pi. He's making an appearance today. He doesn't usually make an appearance, but he is today. He's gonna knock over my laptop. That's not a very spot. Okay, that's not a good spot. Oh God. Yep, see, okay. Yeah, cats, man. Aren't they fun? So it's been 2.5 months since I recorded an update. It was the end of June. A lot has been happening. I'm gonna try really hard not to go into too much detail. So I will say this is the 3rd time I've recorded this video. The first time my microphone died halfway through and I didn't realize it, or 15 minutes in. The second time I was so tired. It was very late at night. The lighting was terrible. I was so tired that I was just literally incoherent. And I was trying to edit the video and I was like, no, Abby, you cannot. I am very willing to be authentic and vulnerable, but there is also a point at which I'm like, nope, you sound like a crazy person. Let's not do that. So I did not want to share that video with the world. And maybe I'll put the bloopers in, but I wanted to try again. This update means a lot to me. It's been very busy. My life has been kind of crazy. I did have surgery in early August, which has been a big part of why I have not been able to record. I just have not been physically up to it. And so I am now feeling like I can tackle it, and it's really exciting to be back. I've been itching to record an update because one thing about I had hip surgery, and so my limb mobility was very limited, and I'm only 6 weeks out now, and I'm still limited, but at first I was on crutches for 3 weeks. I didn't leave the house hardly at all for the first month. It's been a rough go. The one silver lining there is I've done a ton of stitching, and I've also done a ton of reflecting on my stitching, and it's been really fun, and I'm really excited to share that with others, and just hear about people, how, if they relate to that, or if they can connect with that, because it's been a really fun, I think almost kind of formative few months for me when it comes to my stitching. I will probably leave it at that because all you need to know is I've done a ton of stitching. I will say one more thing about it though. Because I did so much stitching, and particularly I had a lot of new starts, 15 to be exact, I am actually recording this I'm recording my starts versus my whips separately, because I have worked on 37 projects since the end of June, and I only have 40 projects. So it's basically a whip parade, right? So what I wanted to do was let's just focus on the starts. Let's celebrate my starts, right? Let's celebrate this, what was motivating me to do these starts, and what was what's been driving me, and what's been my kind of stitching mojo lately. And then I will record a separate video where I'm actually kind of updating you on my ongoing whips at a later time, hopefully within a couple weeks. And I am going to try to get back to a regular routine now that I'm physically capable of recording. I still can't actually sit upright in a desk chair or my normal filming location. So my partner Erin scooched up a recliner for me. So I'm just this kind of, which is enough. It's enough for me to be able to be comfortable and film and not hurt myself in the process. So that's that. One other thing that I think is worth mentioning is, and because it is going to come up a few times in this video, is that as part of my my recovery period, or you know, how I was coping with not being able to do much and being very limited physically, is I did pick up a stitching adjacent like hobby, I guess you could say. I started making stitchy bling, is what I call it. It's, you know, scissor fobs and zipper pulls and basically any kind of little accessories that bring, you know, that spice up your life, right? Spice up your stitching life and bring you joy. And I started an Etsy shop. That is something I never thought I would say. I started an Etsy shop. I haven't listed anything yet. I think I do need a little, someone needs to push me over the edge and convince me to list things. So if you think I should start listing things, tell me in the comments and convince me to do it. But it exists. The shop exists. It's just waiting. But yeah, I think I would like, I'm enjoying the creative expression that comes along with creating this, you know, like these beaded accessories, and I learned a ton of new skills and got a ton of practice, and I am excited to share that as well. It does feel nice because it's stitching adjacent, and you know, there were days when I was stitching more than 1,000 stitches because I literally couldn't do anything else. Like it wasn't working, I couldn't get up much and move around. I was watching a lot of Flosstube and stitching a lot, and my wrists were starting to hurt. Like I was starting to get repetitive stress pain in my wrist, and I was like, Abby, you got to find another outlet for this energy. And so I decided I would learn how to do this, and it's been super fun. So here's an example. I'll just show you real quick one example of what I made. This is my favorite one. So this is a little scissor fob, and you can see it has a little, hold on, maybe. It's a little kitty cat in a teacup. So cute, right? So that's the scissor fob. And then I made like either, you know, another little scissor fob or a bag charm or a zipper pull that coordinates with it. And then this here is the floss ring charm that's on the floss ring, and I just kept them together on this. But I just love, like, that's an example of what I've been doing. I've been having so much fun with it. And if you stay tuned, I'm going to give away some of those so throughout the video. So hopefully that will be something that you all will enjoy. All right, I think let's dive in. I have 15 new starts to talk about, and I do have, I don't know, I'm excited. Like I said, I'm excited about them, and I do feel pretty connected with a lot of them. You know, one thing I've learned while reflecting on my stitching over the last few months is that I really need to feel an emotional or like meaningful connection to what I'm stitching on in order to like want to work on that thing. Or the end product has to be so beautiful and so compelling that it overrides a lack of that, like a lack of that kind of emotional or meaning, you know, like meaning behind it. And so I'm really kind of leaning into that in a lot of ways, because I think that's like insight that's important for me to understand. And also it makes me, I think it, like knowing that and really leaning into it makes the hobby that much more fulfilling and joy-filled. And that is important to me as well. So yeah, anyway. So the first projects I'm going to talk about are my projects associated with the stitching connection. So I'm not going in like chronological start order. I'm kind of thematically grouping things just because I think it's a little bit easier to talk through the details. So I am part of the Stitching Connection, which is a round robin movement that is being, that was the brainchild of Jason Cross Stitches, at Jason X Stitches on Instagram and YouTube. It's his brainchild, and he's coordinating it and executing it, and it's just amazing. So what he's done is he's brought together, I think there's like 70 or 80 of us from around the world, and he's grouped us together, and we're all, you know, groups of 4. We are stitching round robin style. So, you know, we selected patterns, you know, everyone kind of took a different approach to selecting patterns, and, you know, I'm stitching on mine, and then I'm gonna pass it to someone, and someone else is gonna pass me theirs, and it's just gonna go all the way around, so all 4 of us have stitched on all 4 projects. And at the end, you get a finished project. So I am loving it. I think I'm really loving it because for me, being part of something is important, and like being part of this community is important to me, and I get a lot of satisfaction out of that. So he's not just like, it's not just about mailing the pattern, I mean, there's a lot of other really enriching things that we're doing through that stitching connection that are bringing joy to my life, and like, it's been fun. So, you know, Jason has been organizing, every 2 weeks he organizes a Zoom call where everyone who wants to can jump on and stitch and chat. You can break up into groups, or you can stay in a big room. I mean, it's so much fun getting to know people and just stitching with people, because I'm stuck at home right now, right? Connection is really important for me. And also, like, you know, I don't have a ton of people in my day-to-day life who stitch. So it's hard sometimes to find that kind of like co-creation, I guess maybe is the right word, in person. And so I'm really enjoying it. So my first stitching connection, so I'm actually part of two round robin groups. I was only assigned initially to one, but I'll explain why I'm in a second one here in a minute. But this is my first one. It's connection P, I think. And the 4 people are myself. We have Sophie, who is in France. We have Rachel Marie, who's in the UK, and then Lauren, who's here in the US in Ohio. So I am literally stitching patterns like alongside people all over the world. It's just so much fun. And we kind of settled upon a theme, and it was kind of accidental and it was kind of intentional. We were kind of focused on winter or like holiday themed projects. We were all kind of in that zone, and then we just kept like sharing our ideas, and a lot of them had houses in them. And so we were like, we're seeing a theme here. And so in the end, we kind of said intentionally, okay, let's like let's do a house project, right? Like, so let's do a project or a pattern that has a house of some sort. So I selected the Christmas Manor by Shannon Christine Designs. I think that's, yes, let me make sure. I am also now using Notion to organize my projects. And I have that pulled up here, which it's like a little different operating procedure than usual. So that is why I'm looking over here, and it might be a little awkward. It's like navigate and figure things out, but hopefully it'll make it more efficient in the long run. So yeah, this is the Christmas Manor. It is by Shannon Christine Designs. And it is stitched on, and I've lost it already. Okay, there it is. Stitched on 32 count linen from Color and Cotton. And here is my progress on it. So I have actually finished so this is a relatively small design. It's not super big. And the way we're breaking it up is we're like, each of us is doing a quadrant roughly. And so I did the top right quadrant, and I put my initials right there. You can see AH. And then I kind of stopped, and then, I send it to Lauren next, and she can stitch whatever quadrant she wants to stitch. And also we're gonna leave, there's several big snowflakes through here. We're gonna leave those out so there's plenty of room for everyone to put their initials in. But that's where it is right now. So this linen is by Color and Cotton. Like I said, it's a 32 count. It's called Wish Upon a Star. It actually came in my July Black Needle Society retreat box, like the bi-monthly subscription. And it's funny because I had picked another fabric, but I wasn't like loving it. It wasn't my favorite. Like, I didn't think it was gonna work very well. But it was what I had. I didn't want to buy a whole piece of fabric for a small pattern like this. And in this game, it's a fat 8. It's like the perfect color, and it's just been a joy to stitch on. So one more time, here's this. Sorry for the shadows. It is late afternoon here, almost 5, it's actually almost 5 o'clock, and the sun is coming from like behind me now, as opposed to coming in this way or this way. So the lighting is a little less than ideal. So we're working with what we got. So yeah, I've really enjoyed that. I'm using the called for DMCs. I do think I changed up the white. I think it called for maybe B5200. I think I used 3865. I really love 3865 as a kind of a go-to soft white. And I think that is really appropriate for this fabric in particular. This fabric does have a really nice soft tone to it. And I think the B5200 would have been a little too harsh. A little too, so I really like the way that is turning out. And so now that I'm filming this episode, hopefully filming this episode for the final time, I can actually send this on. I'm holding up the rotation right now, so I can send this on, which is great, and pass it on for Lauren to work on, and then hopefully soon I will also get someone else's project. So as part of the stitching connection, I also discovered that there was another group whose fourth group member was unable to participate as they had initially thought they would be able to. So they were down a person. And when I found that out, I just reached out and was like, you know, do you need another stitcher? Because I'm happy to do it. I'd love to be involved. And so they let me in, which is great. We've been having a lot of fun. And it's cool because that one's a very different group. It's a very different group. They have very different types of projects. So I'm getting like the best of both worlds. I'm getting these great experiences with two different groups of people. And so for that one, I have Jen, she's from Alaska. We have Kaya, who is in Norway, and then Jason X Stitches is in Texas. So again, people quite spread out, which is really cool. And we did a little Zoom start along recently. It took us a while to figure out like the details of it. Plus, of course, they only had 3 members for a while there. They were trying to figure out how to make that work. But then it was like, then I came in and then we really had to figure things out. So we're a little bit on like the later side of things, but we're cool with that. We don't mind. And so we did all of us started together a couple weekends ago on Zoom across 4 different time zones. It was really cool. And it's been really fun. So the one I'm stitching for this connection is Modern Folk Embroidery. The pattern is called The River. And I saw this pattern. I'm kind of in like a modern folk embroidery era. I've started quite a few of his patterns lately. And I saw this one when I was looking for a different one. And I thought to myself, oh man, that pattern is just like so perfect for a collective, you know, a stitch along or a collective movement of, you know, collective stitching. And then when I was invited to join that stitching, you know, when they said, yeah, we would like a 4th person, I knew immediately what I wanted to do. And it's this. It has, you know, you obviously have already seen the image on the screen, but it does say, the river that flows in me also flows in you, or the river that flows in you also flows in me. I don't know. It just is I really love that sentiment. Again, I'm really craving community and connection right now because of the circumstances, and this pattern reminds me of that drive and that kind of desire and that, like I guess, like the personal value I have. So this is stitched on a banana oil fabric. This is one of like banana oil. It's like, I think, really known for like their very vibrant, vivid, wild color combinations. And I was just looking on Etsy, just, you know, every once in a while I look at their fabrics, and I saw this one, and the modeling is much more muted, but it's very beautiful. It's like a very pale gray purple, and then there's this like shadow of that same kind of type of modeling that you see in her more vivid fabrics, or their more vivid fabrics. Like you see that it's like a little bit of greenish or seafoam or like a little bit of purple. It's very, very subtle, but it's very beautiful. And this thread goes perfectly with it. So this thread is a special edition floss from Hand Dyed by Rolanda that is like, oh my God, it's to die for. Look at how beautiful that is. Y'all, I drool over this floss, and it looks absolutely amazing with the fabric. It really shines. I know you can't see it super great with this lighting, but the variegation and like the way the colors unfold is just really amazing. So I'm gonna do the central vase here, as you can see, in this main color. This is like kind of the base color or the base floss for this project. I'm gonna do the whole border in this and all of the like in between section borders. And then everyone is going to, all of the people in my group are going to stitch their own cluster of flowers, and they're gonna use a contrast color of their choosing. And I'm sending, you know, when I send the project, I am gonna send several different options that I think look good with that floss. And most of these colors are colors that are really pulling the different colors that are that are used in this like amazingly variegated floss, right? It's so many colors are in there. Let me try to find them all. But like you can see, all of these are represented in some way in this beautiful floss by Hand Dyed by Rolanda. And so I'm sending those, and people, you know, the people in my group can choose from those if they want to use those as the contrast colors. But if they have another color that they really love, you know, in their stash, or, you know, a color they think better represents them and their individuality, I'm more than happy to have them stitch that. So that is what we're doing. And then everyone is going to be responsible for one of the bands, or at least you know, a third of a band, and then we'll split them all. We're kind of just winging it with this one because there isn't really, I think it's gonna become clear as we continue to stitch on it. Like the next steps will become clear, and also the way we want the colors to unfold and develop will also become clear as well. So I'm really, really excited about that one. This is an 18 count Aida. I started this on, I want to say September 6th maybe. Let's see here. Yes, September 6th. And this is actually, I'm also doing the Great British Bake Off stitching game, which is the brainchild of Jessie Marie Does Stuff. And this has been called in both week 1 and week 2 of that. So it's gonna get a lot of attention this week. I haven't actually not a ton of stitching this week because I've been busy at work, but I am working from home, but I am working. Oh, and while I'm here, I'll show you. Oh my gosh, there's Pi again. Hello, cat. He's such a stinker. This is another little stitching fob or scissor fob I made. There's a cat hair on it. But I love this one because it's a mountain, and I'm mountain mama, you know? So I have this. I have the little floss drop ring charm thing. You can see here. Can you see it? Okay, there you go, Abby. And then I also have a little zipper pull. So I am just really loving, I don't know, it's a lot of fun to make these little pops, you know, of interest and bling. So that's my other stitching connection project. We don't really have a timeline for this one. And I will say everyone else in that stitching connection, that group, picked much larger, like more intensive patterns with many more stitches than mine. So we joke that mine's gonna be kind of like the reprieve stitch where when we're all like really over all of the stitching, we're getting tired of it. Mine's just like a quick and easy thing, hopefully. It doesn't really represent that many stitches per person. So I'm really excited to stitch on theirs as well. There are some really beautiful patterns they selected, and they're patterns that I probably never would have chosen for myself, which is why I love this. I get to like experiment and play around with patterns that maybe hadn't called to me, but I get to do so in a way that's like very low stakes. Like I get to just like stitch 25% of it and then pass it on, and that to me is like amazing because I think, yeah, it's just a fun way to experiment, you know, like in offering opportunities that wouldn't have otherwise been available. So another thing that has been really I've been really enjoying is experimenting with color. And so you'll see a lot of these starts are reflecting that desire to like really play with color in new or experimental ways, some of which might not pan out the way I hope they would, and that's okay. I'm doing this, it is truly kind of, I'm feeling very experimental with my stitching lately, and I'm also feeling just kind of a newfound, like allowing myself the freedom to really think outside the box. I've never felt constrained to like just do the called for floss and fabric on a pattern. Most patterns, some patterns absolutely I will not change because it's just right, you know, but other times I do see opportunities for me to kind of either, you know, add a little different element or to be a little creative, or just because I don't want to buy the floss, I use what I have. I do that, I'm not afraid. And I'm not afraid of interesting color combos between the fabric and the floss. I really enjoy that. But I have been trying to be a little bit even more like allowing myself even a little bit more creative freedom and experiment, like room for experiment. And I'm really enjoying it. Again, I don't know that I'm always gonna be like hitting it out of the park, but the process of experimentation, I think for me, is really making me enjoy the process of stitching as opposed to the product of stitching. And historically, I've been more of a little bit more of a product stitcher than a process stitcher. And so this is, it's fun, right? Okay, enough of that. So this is a project I started. This is another modern folk embroidery, and this is the Little Bird Quaker sampler. And the backstory, I'll just show it real quick so I don't hold it up. Isn't that wild? Okay, so the backstory here is that my daughter, she is 3. She is just the wildest, quirkiest kid I've ever met, and I've met a lot of kids, and a lot of exceptional kids, right? And she just has this really wild, quirky personality, and I really want to capture that because I do suspect that the world will eventually make her tone it down in ways that are gonna make me sad, right? And right now I'm just letting her be her free agent little self and enjoying every moment of it. And I want to capture that. I wish I could bottle it. Obviously you can't, but I'm trying to capture that. And so, for example, right now, one of the things she loves more than anything in the world is purple. Purple is one of my least favorite colors. Like, I really like blues and greens and teals, like those colors. And purple just has been always pretty low. It's like orange is probably my least favorite. I find orange actually painful sometimes. Like, purple is just not something I've ever been drawn to. This girl is obsessed with purple. Everything right now is purple. She's having to eat out of purple things. She's like the purple bowls, the purple spoons, the purple cups. She wants to wear only purple. She wants to, I mean, it is all purple all the time. If she sees colors, she's like, you know, what's your favorite color? If you say purple, she gets really mad because purple's her favorite and she can only be the only person that loves purple. It's funny. It's also has like evolved a little bit to be purple rainbows, which aren't a thing, obviously, but in her mind, purple rainbows are things that have purple and rainbows. And so she's starting to prefer purple and rainbows with things. So, you know, you'll be like, what's your favorite color? She's like, purple rainbows. Like, okay, got it. So I just wanted to bottle up this purple phase, her purple era. It's just so cute. And I remembered, I was like, it would be fun to stitch something that was like all different kinds of purple, just to do it, right? Like, just to experience it. I had like 2 purple overdyes at the time. I didn't have very many because I didn't really like it that much. Cat, don't do it. He's about to cause mayhem. Don't do it. You can do it. If you hear a crash, it's my cat, and I'm sorry. Oh, you stinker. Anyway, I was like, how fun would it be to do that? And I remembered Amity from the Hathaway Stitchers has done something similar with the color teal, which is my favorite color of all time. And I took inspiration from her. She's doing this Quaker project where every motif is either a different color or a combination of different colors of teal. And she has collected, over time, she's collected all of these teal threads from different dyers. And I really loved that. I love that idea. I love the kind of creative expression of it and the experimentation. So I decided to take inspiration from that and do the same thing, but with purple and rainbows. So this is my purple rainbow sampler, Little Bird Quaker sampler from Modern Folk Embroidery. And I remembered, I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do this on? I remembered I had this wild fabric from Witch's Garden Crafts, which is absolutely, oops, that's upside down and backwards. Nope, come on, Abby. Well, it's a good sign that my backside looks so neat that I actually couldn't tell which was front and back. That is very unusual for me, but I kind of like it. Okay, so it's this Witch's Garden Crafts Ada. It's 18 count. I adore Witch's Garden Crafts Ada. Like, I am absolutely obsessed with their fabrics. And I had gotten this one on a whim when I was getting some other fabric for like an actual purpose. I just kind of got this because it looked really cool. And it's called Unicorn, and it does look really cool. It's kind of like a starburst effect from that top corner, and it comes outwards and radiates outwards, and it's purples and like a light turquoise or teal. It's a really neat fabric. As soon as I got it, I was like, wow, that's beautiful. What the hell am I gonna do with this? Like, I just was like, I can't even fathom what kind of project I would put on this that would look right. Well, and then I came up with this idea of the purple rainbow sampler, and the rest is history. I immediately knew it was a match. So that's what this is. So I am doing every motif in a different purple. You will see here, I have a very, you can't even tell. Here I have like a light purple, and then also here, I have a very muted purple. I'm actually gonna rip those out and instead really focus on bright, vibrant purples. I first thought I would represent like the whole spectrum of purple, from like lavender and like dusty purple all the way up through this like deep violets and like grape colors. But I just realized on this fabric that is not gonna work. It's just the fabric is too busy already, and any ghosting is gonna look real weird in the context of the rest of the sampler. So I'm gonna rip those out and replace them with different ones. So I also wanted to build in the rainbow element. So what I opted to do, you can see a little bit of it here. I came down here to test it out. right? I wanted to like work my way down to the alphabet in the middle because I knew I wanted to do the alphabet in this wild rainbow color. And I wanted to test it out and see if this was like the most insane thing I'd ever thought or whether it might work. I've decided it is both. It is a little unhinged, and also I'm gonna do it anyway. Like, I don't care what this looks like on my wall. It's gonna be on my daughter's wall anyway. I don't care that it looks elegant. I don't care that it makes perfect sense. Like, my daughter doesn't make sense most of the time. She is just truly such a unique kid. And I just wanted to like have something that celebrated that and not really worry about the aesthetics of it, right? Like, so I did that. So this is a cottage garden threads called Sprinkles. You can see it has a purple, it has a fuchsia and like pink or blue and green. It's perfect. And here are some of the purples that oh my God, this cat. You're about, yep, there it is. Okay, come on, get down, come on. You're gonna cause complete chaos. You're causing complete chaos. Oh, yep, see chaos, okay. All right, so these are some of the purples I've collected in the process that have kind of like, I ordered them off Etsy or wherever, and they came and they kind of made the cut as something I would want to include on this. This purple aster I haven't used that one. It might be too light. I'm not sure yet. But there's like Pirate and Robin. There's Poison Threads, which is an Etsy dyer. It's really pretty. There's Silken Colors from the Thread Gatherer. There's all kinds. There's a Cottage Garden. There's a lot of, there's a Gentle Arts. This one's really pretty. Oh, I love it. So anyway, I'm just kind of collecting purples. If anyone has any bright, vivid purples that they recommend, let me know because I want to add them to the mix. There are 25 motifs, so I need 25 purples. And one thing I am going to do, I actually need 26 purples because one thing I'm going to do is there are a lot of birds on this sampler, which is also really meaningful because my daughter loves birds and I've stitched her several bird things that are in her room already. And she has bird art and she has bird stuffies and she's just a bird kid, right? So what I'm gonna do is all of the birds are gonna be stitched in the same exact color purple, like so the same floss. And I want it to be a very, very vibrant purple. And I want it to clearly stand out from the motifs and the rainbow more broadly, right? Like I want you to be able to tell that I stitched all of those birds in the same color. And I just, for some reason, I want that to like really pop. So I haven't yet decided which purple that's gonna be, but I suspect, if I had to guess, it's probably gonna be one of these three. We'll see. Here's that Gentle Arts, which is just really beautiful there. And these are two purple Pirate Robins. So you can kind of see those, really pretty. Probably the darker one if I had to guess, but we'll just kind of see how they unfold. I'm kind of holding off on stitching any motifs with those and allowing myself to kind of decide about halfway through which color I want to kind of settle on for the birds. So yeah, that's my wild and crazy color experimentation. Purple rainbows, it's great. I also have it in my purple bag. This is from Sheba Designs. I've always wanted a Sheba Designs bag. I've always coveted them and like followed her shop on Etsy. And when she announced recently that she was gonna stop shipping to the US, at least temporarily, I was like, okay, that's the sign that I needed from the universe that it's time to order a Sheba Designs bag. And she had this purple one in stock. And I was like, that's the other sign from the universe because this is just perfect. It's exactly, I mean, it fits the vibe. I did also get another one. It's the one that my Modern Folk Embroidery, the river is in, but I forgot to show it to you. Okay, so that was that one. All right, so now we're getting into owl stitching. So so you may or may not be aware of the sort of owl salve that's going on, that's coordinated by Jen from Jen's Fiberweb here on Flosstube and Instagram. She recorded a video a while back just kind of like talking about all the different owl patterns she had. She talked about how she wanted an owl wall, which is like, oh, genius, I love it. And I was like, I have so many owl patterns either in my library or on my wish list that have just been calling to me. And I had one already in progress. Like, I just love owls and I love stitching owls. I think there are really amazing patterns out there, very creative and unique, that are focused on owls. So she decided, I think she got a response from everyone broadly that was like very encouraging. So she decided to make it a real deal sal. and it's called the Gonna Be Owl Right Sal, and it's going on for at least September. I don't know if it's, you know, how long, but I'm basically using it as an excuse to start all of the owl patterns that I want to start ever. And it's been a lot of fun. So this one is a recent start as part of that. This is You Got This. It's a pattern by the Artsy Housewife. I'm stitching it on 32 count linen from Laura's Fabrics called the Pensive. It's also a Black Needle Society fabric that I got in a fat eighth. And so here's where I'm at so far. I am doing a floss conversion for this one based on just like picking flosses I had in stash, like picking overdyes I had in stash, and kind of just doing my best to match the intent of the pattern. I think it's okay. Like it's such a small pattern. I just didn't want to invest in the called for fabrics, and also, I'm sorry, the called for threads. And also I had really been itching to try this blue. It's a Cottage Garden thread. It's really beautiful. What is it called? Let me show it to you. I really wanted to use this. It's called Morrison. I really wanted to use this in something, and I was like, ooh, that mug is like the perfect opportunity. And there was a point in time where I almost chickened out, but I stuck with it, and I'm glad I did. I'm trusting the vision. So it's, you know, it is what it is. It's not perfect, and I don't care. So this is that variegated blue, and at first I just started here, and then I did the handle, and I was like, oh no, like the way it was like pooling, or like the way it was like kind of unfolding, I was a little worried. And so, like I said, I almost chickened out and picked a different blue. I like pulled all my blues out again and was like, ugh. But then I was like, no, just stitch some bigger chunks and see how it feels then before you make a decision. And I'm glad I did. It's still a little bit more like intensely variegated. Like I think the speed at which it goes from the light blue to the dark blue is a little abrupt for my liking. It's very beautiful, but it feels abrupt when I'm stitching it. Like I feels like there's not like that nice medium in between phase for a few stitches. And that's, you know, it's not completely true, but it does feel that way at times. And so I was a little bit worried about that, but I'm happy with it. It's, again, it's a really small little stitch. It's very cute, and I'm gonna put it on my wall at work, I've decided, because it is like a kind of a nice, like encouraging message, and I think people will enjoy that. The green is a Pirate Robin, and then I picked a couple of different browns. These are also potentially, especially this lighter one, might be replaced with something else. I'm not sure yet. I'm gonna do the same thing where I trust the vision for a little longer. I game it out and I like do some more stitching in it, and then I decide whether I wanna replace it and change it or not, or whether I wanna keep going with that color. So anyway, that's been a lot of fun. This is also part of my Great British Baking Show, game, but the contestant that is associated with this actually was eliminated in week 1. So I got the stitching in for week 1, and this is not gonna come out again through that game. So it might be a little bit of time before I can get more stitches in this, because I will say that there's a lot of stitching involved in that game. Like right now, this week I'm supposed to stitch more than 2,500 stitches, and I just, with my work schedule this week and everything else going on, I just don't know that I'm gonna actually accomplish it. So definitely don't have space for extra stuff. All right, this is my next owl start, and this is another really fun one and a little one too. It's called The Cranky Owl by Modern Folk Embroidery. This one I actually saw Jen from Jen's Fiber Web stitch, like she showed her, you know, her project, her whip on this pattern. I was like, oh, it's so adorable. And I had to do it. So I am stitching this on a 32 count mystery linen from Fortnite Fabrics. It's this beautiful mottled, like turquoisey color. I haven't done much stitching, obviously. I did a start, and that's about it. I think I stitched 2 days, but the second day was like a little bit. But here is the floss I'm using for that. Again, a little bit of experimentation with color. This is another special edition floss from Hand Dyed by Rolanda. I am really loving her flosses right now. They're just so vibrant and interesting. So it looks perfect with this turquoise fabric. It does have little tiny segments of that turquoise tone. So those are gonna ghost a little bit, but it's totally worth it. So that's just gonna be a monochrome. Like, I'm not using any other colors. I'm just using this very, very variegated color. So it's not really monochrome because it's a lot of colors, but it's not multiple different threads, if you know what I mean. So So those are two of my owl projects that I'm enjoying. All of my owl projects are on my Great British Bake Off list. So, and I did that because I want to make sure, sorry, I'm getting a little stiff. I want to make sure that my owl stitching is getting attention this month. And that's a great way for me to build in opportunities for that to happen. So the next one's a big start. And this is one where I just needed a little bit of a push over the edge of sanity in order to be convinced I should start it. This is 100 Owls by Owl Forest Embroidery. And I have had, I mean, it's a free pattern. I downloaded it over a year ago. It's been in my markup, ready for me to just stitch it whenever I was brave enough. And Jen started this the day after Labor Day here in the States. And so I was like, yep, that's what I needed. I'm gonna start it too. And so again, Jen from Jen's Vibrant Web. So I started it. It is a massive pattern. Oh my God, cat. You guys are getting like the full effect of the cat today. It's really funny because he's not usually in my videos, but because this chair is the way it is, I think he wants to perch on it. He's like a percher. Anyway, this is my 100 Owls. I just have a little start. I do not have the Owl Forest embroidery threads that go with this pattern, which I think really ultimately do this pattern true justice. So I am winging it, no pun intended. But I spent more time than I would like to admit staring at the website pages and like the colors of the called for Owl Forest threads and trying to find something in Stash that would mimic that in any way. I've done an okay job for some things, and there are other things where I have purchased a couple of threads from various dyers thinking that they might be a little closer to what I'm looking for. And I'm going to see how that pans out. I haven't received those yet, but anyway. So for here's an example, right? Like this dark green here is a Pirate Robin. I remember it's Pirate Robin. And it's like the deep green that's like just all through the pattern. And I think it's perfect. It has a slightly bluish tinge to it here and there. It's really pretty. It's very deep and bright and like vivid. But this one right here is supposed to be like a purpley gray and with a little bit of pink variegation. And the color I picked looked perfect. Like on the skein, it looked exactly like, or at least it looked close enough to the called for like Owl Forest thread that I was like, oh yeah, that works great. But on this fabric, it's just washing out too much. It's not vibrant enough. So I've tried out another one here. Neither of these is really doing it for me. So I paused on that motif, that owl, and I will consider a few other options that are coming in the mail. And once I get more in, I'm gonna come back to this and try to figure out which one I wanna use based on how it like works with the rest of the colors. Same goes for this one here. You probably can't even see it, but there are some white stitches here that are like have some peach variegation in them. And I need something a little more robust in order to show up on this fabric. And also like the called for thread has like an orange like splotchiness to it. Like there's like a segment of it that's orange, and this one is more of like a very light peach, and it's not doing it. It's not vivid enough. Like it's not obvious enough. So I have a couple coming for that as well. The fabric I'm stitching this on is 40 count. It's Rocky Mountain by XJU Design. This is one of, so I did order a couple of 4 different fabrics from XJU Design recently, and I have started something with 2 of them, and I get it now. I understand what the fuss is about. Like this fabric is really, really nice to work with. So this is the full fat quarter, and it is gorgeous. It's like a very, very light, neutral, whitish tan. I'm not good at like identifying beige versus brown versus tan, but it has like this like very, very subtle olivey brown marbling through it. It's really beautiful. It's really perfect for this pattern, I think. It's enough to like create visual interest, but it's not going to overwhelm or distract from the like variegation in the threads that I've selected. So we'll see how it all turns out. It's gonna be an experiment. Again, I'm staying very flexible. I'm not like doubling down on any of the colors I choose. If it's not working, I'm gonna back out and be like, nope, okay, I gotta find something different, and I'm just gonna go with it. And I'm gonna trust myself. Oh, Here's another one I love. Okay, I love them all right now. I'm sorry. Very enthusiastic about these new starts. I still love my whips. I've worked on 22 of them, but I will say that the starts that I've prioritized recently are really great. So exceptionally good. Okay, so this one is Baby Animals by the Blue Flower. This was a release of her, that designer. She released it at Nashville this past spring, and I enjoy following the releases for various marketplaces, like for Nashville and for the one in August. I enjoy keeping track of what's being released, but I don't do any pre-ordering, primarily because I stitch exclusively from digital, from Markup RXP. So when I can, I want to wait until, like, if I know a designer eventually releases their patterns or their new releases as a PDF, like even a couple months later, I wait for that. Because it's much easier to do that than it is to buy a paper pattern and then scan it and go through that whole rigmarole. Even though I do love supporting my local needle workshop and would love to support them in that way, I support them in other ways by buying a lot of fabric and threads. So, not through Nashville pre-orders. All that to say, this was a release from Nashville, and the second I saw it, it was really, I think it's the only pattern I can remember where I was like, oh, I have to stitch that. Like, it was an immediately yes, you know? And so I hadn't bought it yet, you know, but I knew that it needed to be started at some point, and I knew that I would stitch it, and I wanted to eventually finish it. Primarily because I love the, like, you know, the child and parent aspect of it. That's very meaningful to me. But also there are several animals represented in this sampler that are really special to my children and my family. So it was like extra special for that reason. You know, my kids do have their favorites, right? And those become a really big deal. If you know anything about the penguins in my family, you know, like, my kids really get into things. They get into animals, and they've been very attached to that species or whatever. So penguins are a big one. And there's a couple other in here that are pretty, the sloths are a big deal in my house. So yeah, so all that to say, here is what it looks like. This pattern is humongous. I think it's the pattern I think it's now my biggest pattern as far as stitch count goes. Let me look. It's very close. If it's not, I think maybe the only one that beats it is my Ernestine Briere from Le Reflet de Soie. But yeah, let me tell you here. Yeah, 39, almost 40,000. So 39,777 stitches. And this is just like one little tiny section. It's wild how big this thing is. It's gonna take up the entire 40 count fat quarter. I have stitched almost 2,000 stitches, and I'm not even to 5% yet. But I am absolutely loving this project. So I started this as my back to school project for 2025. My son started 5th grade, and that felt like a really big milestone that I wanted to commemorate in a meaningful way. And I knew I wanted it to be a big ass project, a back to school project. And so it like immediately came to me that, like, this is a project for that. Like, this is the one that belongs, like, this is the one to commemorate that, right? And my goal is to finish it by the time my daughter starts 5th grade in 7 years. So we'll see how it goes. But this one's for me. This one's like celebrating motherhood and celebrating the things that make my children unique. But it's for me. It's for me. So this is stitched on a 40 count linen by Millennial Fabrics called Dove. It's similar to the Rocky Mountain by XJU Design that I just showed as far as like the tonal variation. It's a little bit more vividly, like, there's more of the darker color throughout, but like the tones themselves are very reminiscent of each other. When I first started this project, I told myself I was just gonna stitch it with the DMC and use it because that's what I have, and I didn't want to spend a ton of extra money. I already had the fabric, and it was like the perfect match. I was like, yes, let's just do it in DMC, Abby. Like, the color, it's gonna be beautiful no matter what. And so I did that. I started it, and there's my start, and I hated it. I can't explain it. And I'm like, am I just being a snob? Like, am I just being a snob now? I'm like too good for DMC. And I don't think that's the case, because I really do love stitching with DMC, but I found, like, when I looked at what I had stitched and I compared it against this beautiful image of the stitched pattern with the variegated flosses, there was so much dimension that was represented in those overdyes that was not coming through with what I had stitched so far. So, you know, like, it's fine, right? I just didn't like it very much. And so what I decided to do was I compromised. The beautiful thing about the Blue Flower, and I love this about her projects, is she really only uses overdyes where they count. Like where they actually make a difference in the visual effect of the pattern. If they're small chunks of stitching, or if they're little accents, or if they're, you know, they're part of a pattern that really wouldn't make a difference, whether it was, you know, one solid color versus not. She just goes with the DMC. It's like, great. And this pattern has a lot of colors, and more than half of them are DMC. So what I decided to do was I would stitch all the DMC called for with the DMC as she intended. Oh God. And then I would do what I could with what I had and do fancy floss conversions for the majority of the fancy flosses she called for. There were a couple that I just couldn't quite substitute with what I had in stash. They kind of clashed with all the other colors that were in the palette. So I did end up ordering 2 or 3 of the threads for this project, but that is way better than ordering like 12 of them. So I felt very proud of myself from that perspective. So I'm doing kind of a combination of fancy floss conversion and called for, depending on where I'm at in the pattern. So like this green here is the called for, which is Classic Colorworks Pea Pod. Really, really beautiful. Actually, I don't think any other color here. No, this green. So it was the greens that were really causing me trouble, because I did not have a ton of greens in my stash, and the ones I did have like were not what they were supposed to be. Like they were not the right tone or depth or whatever. I don't know what those words are, but like they didn't work together, and they didn't work with the rest of the pattern. So I got that one too. And this is Steamed Broccoli, also from Classic Colorworks. So those 2 greens I ordered, but every other color, all these browns, this blue, this beautiful blue that goes around the border, all of those are from stash. So I felt good about making the right, you know, I don't know, the responsible choice, which is hilarious because I did an unhinged amount of online shopping while I was recovering from surgery because I was so bored, and also like, you know, on painkillers. I did an unhinged amount of online shopping. And I got a lot of different threads. I got a lot of different fabrics. And that was the thing I was gonna like be like, no, don't spend too much money on it. It's weird. I'm not gonna show you a haul, because if you guys saw my haul, you would realize how unhinged it was. You would think it's like someone needed to stage an intervention. I will say it's gotten better. So I have slowed down on the haul. It was rough there for a while. Okay, so this next one was another kind of color experimentation project that I started. I have not done much on this since I started it. It was definitely an impulse start, but the pattern I'd had for a while and definitely wanted to stitch, but I'll kind of talk you through what impulses led me to start it. So the fabric is this beautiful purple. This is Lavender Haze. It is, Fiberlicious Yummy Fibers, Lavender Haze. It's a 32 count, it's a linen. It's a fat 1/8. It's also from a Black Needle Society box. A lot of my fat 1/8s are from that. Beautiful, beautiful. It's called Lavender Haze. So another thing that my daughter has been, you know, along with purple, another thing that has been a really funny, quirky obsession of hers is Taylor Swift. When she was not even 2, the Eras Tour like video was released, and my son wanted to watch it. He was like, I just want to see what it's all about. And my daughter was in the room and she watched it. And from that, I mean, she wasn't even hardly talking yet, but from that day forward, everything was Tay-Tay. And so she would say, Tay-Tay on the TV? Tay-Tay on the TV? Over and over again. And so we watched that video, that Eras Tour video, which is like 3 hours long. We didn't watch it all the way through, but like we started it at some point along the video every night for probably a year. because she was so obsessed with it. And my daughter had a language delay. She was not, now I don't know that everyone would have noticed it, but that is my specialization, so I saw it for what it was, right? So she had a bit of a language delay. She was saying a lot of single words. And but not like a ton of phrases. So like Tay Tay on the TV was probably the most complex thing she was saying at the time. And within like 6 months or so, she was in language therapy. She was getting early intervention, but she went from like really only being able to say things like that to actually having memorized and being able to sing many of Taylor Swift's songs. It's pretty funny. And there was a time period where she wouldn't get in the car unless Tay Tay was playing. My poor son was like, I hate my life. Why did I do this? I regret everything. Tay Tay has been an important figure in our family, which is funny because I never was in on the Taylor Swift craze. I think I was a little bit older than, like I was a little before that time as far as like being influenced by it. And also that style of music is not, oh my God, Kat, you are so gonna cause. Okay, oh my, look at him. He's gonna knock over his entire laundry basket. You guys are getting the full effect today. All that to say, Tay Tay, I know all the words. I know all the songs. She's been an important figure in our life for the last couple years. So this pattern says, I cry a lot, but I am so productive. It's an art. Hey, little jerk, what are you doing? Come on. Oh my gosh. It is by a designer who sells patterns on Etsy. It's called like Crazy Stitch. I'll put that up on the screen. And I saw it. It was really cute. I want to put it on my wall at work. You know, I like the sentiment. I do. That is my favorite song by Tay Tay. So there's that. So it's been in my library for a while, and I knew I wanted to start it. I knew I kind of wanted to do it on this fabric because it's lavender haze, like, you know, that felt apropos. And so what happened is that I ordered the Chaos collection. I pre-ordered the Chaos collection from Cottage Garden Threads. I've really been getting into Cottage Garden Threads, and I do think they are my, like overall my favorite dyer. I really, really enjoy stitching with them. So this Chaos collection is it's this collection of really wild, chaotic colorways that really are just super fun and creative. And again, this kind of reflected how I want to play with color lately. So when they came and I saw this color, I was like, oh man, that looks like it would go really well in that bright purple fabric I have. And then I was like, oh man, that would go really well with that pattern I have. And so it all came together that way, and I impulse started at like 1 o'clock in the morning because that's what you do, right? And so what I'm doing is I'm doing I'm not really following the like color scheme of the pattern in any way. Anyway, resembling the pattern itself. So all of the letters are gonna be in that wild colorway, that Chaos collection colorway, which has like, you know, pink and orange and purple, and oh, this is great. And then all of the contrast colors are these other colorways from the Cottage Garden Threads lineup that are more kind of standard colors. There's a purple, there's a light, oh, actually this is a color in cotton. Sorry, this pink is a color in cotton. And then there's these two from Cottage Garden Threads. So I'm just gonna work these colors in. This purple's gonna be tricky. I'm not really sure if it's gonna work. If it doesn't, that's okay. I might just put it in as like a little accent here and there. But I am gonna do like every O in the pattern is this little flower. I don't know if you can see that. So I'm gonna do all of those in a different one of these contrast threads. So I'm just gonna play around with it. I'm gonna experiment. Again, this is like commemorating some wild phase that my daughter doesn't seem to be outgrowing anytime soon, honestly. She's still pretty Tay-Tay obsessed. So yeah, I think it's fun. I mean, it'll go in her room. It could be as obnoxious as it wants to be. I'm not like super picky about what like the aesthetic of what I put on my walls, like more broadly speaking, but I have an eclectic taste. But there are certain things that just won't go with what we have going on in the house. And like, that's one of them. Okay, so we are an hour in. I hope y'all are hanging in there. We're definitely halfway done, at least with the new starts, which is great. One thing I want to say is that the next thing I talk about is I'm going to be talking about suicide. And so I know that is very distressing to many people. And so I wanted to like let you know ahead of time that that is going to be a theme of what I talk about for the next little bit. If you do not want to hear it, totally understand. What I'm going to do is, so I'm going to show you this bright teal, this beautiful teal project. And I'm going to use this as a visual cue that I'm still talking about this. So when I put this down later, it means I'm done. And you can safely, you can fast forward until you no longer see me holding this up. And then I won't talk about it again. Okay? So that is your cue to skip ahead. And also I'm sending you all my love and care. Because this is hard shit. Okay. So I'm gonna put it up. My arm's gonna get really tired, I bet. Okay. So I experienced, I have been affected by suicide loss. I experienced the death of someone I loved very dearly by suicide back in the spring. And it has definitely, there's no way to have that not impact your life, right? So it has definitely impacted me in many ways. I'm learning a lot about, suicide grief is very complicated, and it's just a lot. And also it has really, I'm feeling more and more called to, call to action maybe is the right word, or, oh my God, sorry. Sorry, everyone. I just put it down. Okay. If you don't want to watch, keep going. Anyway, I'm feeling more and more compelled to act or to help or to support in some way. There is not much that I can do, but I will do what I can where I can. I am not a, trained professional by any stretch of the imagination. But I really don't want, if I could, I don't want anyone else to experience that. I don't want anyone else to lose their life that way. It's such a tragic thing. So I am figuring out how to channel that grief, right? It's a process. One thing I knew I wanted to do is I knew I was getting closer and closer to being ready to stitch something that helped me memorialize this, this beautiful, brilliant human that I lost, and also, express my grief through creativity, which is usually how I process most feelings, is creativity. Like probably many of you. So I was more and more called to do something that felt like at least I was putting stitches to fabric that were expressing, my grief and loss, and creating something beautiful out of it. I think that's probably what's really important in this moment for me, is like creating beauty, channeling that grief into beauty. So I got this fabric. So I knew I wanted to stitch so I do have a couple of other projects in mind in the long run. But when I saw this project, which is To Remember You by the Artsy Housewife, the sentiment just really struck a chord with me, and I knew that was what I wanted to stitch. That was what I wanted to have on my wall. I wanted to be able to look at it and feel that mixed feeling of sadness as well as awe over the beauty of such a beautiful thing. And so that's what I'm doing. It's To Remember You by the Artsy Housewife. It has a saying in it that says, "This work I do to remember you." And it's just a beautiful little Quaker pattern. And I'm really into Quakers lately. So I knew that was step one. And once I decided that, I just kind of was like waiting for the right combination to emerge for me, right? I got this fabric from the Rebel Stitcher. It's Dark Peacock by XJU Design. And honestly, this is the most beautiful fabric I've ever laid eyes on. This color right here is like the color of my soul. It's like my soul color. I love this color, and it is my absolute favorite color of all time. Not just in fabrics, but like also just period. Like I love everything that I see in this color. So just the vibrancy of the fabric, it's so beautiful. I knew I wanted to stitch this on this fabric because it was so beautiful. And I also, it does remind me of, the person I lost, her first car was like a dark teal. It was a little more green than this. but this was one of my 2 best friends from high school. And we spent a lot of time in her car, right? When you turn 16, if you get a car, you're a big deal. And we spent a lot of time in her car. So it wasn't quite this color, but it was in this color family. And so it kind of reminded me of that, which I thought kind of was a neat little coincidence. And added like an extra layer of meaning. So I decided I would stitch on this. And then it was just a matter of finding the perfect floss. And I had ordered some more flosses from Hand Dyed by Rolanda because, like I said, I'm kind of into her flosses right now. And this one came, and I knew immediately this would be it. So teal, this is a teal and purple variegated. It is absolutely gorgeous. It's showing up on camera pretty well. Nothing compares to the real life. I mean, it's beautiful. So I can't find the skein I actually have actively in use, but I did get 2 skeins of it just in case. These are 50-yard skein, like hanks. I won't need that for this project, but I'm glad I have more because I want to use them in the future. What's really cool, and to me kind of another level of meaning, is that teal and purple are kind of the colors that represent suicide awareness or suicide prevention or suicide loss, right? They're, you know how everything kind of has the color, breast cancer has pink and different things. Well, teal and purple are kind of the you know, widely used colors. I mean, my fingernails are teal and purple. And September is Suicide Prevention Month here in the US. So all this coming together felt really right to me. I was a little bit worried that this was gonna not show up well enough, that because it was so matching, like certain parts that are matching this color so perfectly, that it would ghost. And I actually really love the effect. You can see there's a little bit of ghosting, but it's not so striking that you can't tell what's happening. And if you saw my Instagram post about this, you know, like as I've been stitching it, I've been really reflecting on a variety of, you know, I've just been using it as an opportunity to process, right? And one of the things I thought about was how, like, when you're stitching and your floss ghosts on the fabric, the stitches are still there, even if you can't see them. And I was like, wow, that's like grief. Like, that's basically how I feel sometimes, is like, sometimes the grief starts to kind of like fade into my day-to-day life, right? Like it's not front and center, the only thing you can think about, you know, like it's just become part of the fabric of your life. It's still there, even if it's not being highlighted or emphasized, or if it's not super obvious in your daily actions. Like, look closely and you're gonna find it. And I think that's true for anything that you grieve. And so I am like using this piece as an opportunity to really think about those deeper connections, and just allow myself to feel all the feelings along the way. And so I hope I've held this up the whole time, and I probably haven't. Oh my gosh, I'm the worst. Anyway, I think it's absolutely stunning. I am loving working on it. It is a dream to stitch on this fabric. It is a dream to stitch with this floss. The actual loss is a bit of a nightmare, but you know, everything else about this project is a dream. So, okay, so here's my first, so like I said, I've been kind of experiencing a bit more like a compelling, I'm feeling compelled to do things, right? To do anything to make it less likely this will happen to, you know, another person in the future. So one thing that I would like to do is I would like to challenge, if anyone, even one person does this, I would be so thrilled. I have found a couple of different organizations that I really support their vision and their mission, and it's all around suicide prevention or suicide education or mental health, like just preventative efforts, right? And I have made a donation myself, but if anyone else feels called to do so, even $1, if you even want to donate $1, if you want to email evidence of that donation to me, I will send you a personalized stitching bling, a scissor fob or a zipper pull. And when you email me and you know show evidence of a donation, again, the amount does not matter to me. Again, $1, great. I'll ask you a little bit about what you like or what themes you're kind of thinking about right now, and offer up some options as far as like the, you know, colors you're into, or if you want to match a certain project, or if you want an owl, or, you know, whatever. I have a lot of options now. So anyway, if you are also called to do that, it would be such an honor to thank you in that way. So yeah, we'll see if anyone does it. I mean, I'll be tickled pink. And if no one does it, that's okay too, you know? But anyway, that's what I'm thinking for this. Also, September 10th was World Suicide Awareness Day. So September, generally speaking, is a time where there is additional attention spent to the efforts, you know, of organizations that are trying to prevent suicide. And so I will list a couple of options, like a couple of those organizations in the description box. However, if you know of or if you find an organization in your area that is serving your, you know, your area, or that aligns with your values in a way that is important to you, like, yeah, donate to them. I'm happy to honor that. I think any little bit counts in any little way. And I am one of those people that recognizes I have a certain amount of financial privilege that I can donate to organizations like that. Like, I have more of that right now than I have time and energy to donate, if that makes sense. So right now, as someone with a demanding job and 2 kids, and, you know, my efforts are better spent, you know, money is the better resource that I can provide as opposed to sweat equity or, you know, any other thing. And I do want to do something. And if that is what it is, that is what it is. So I'm going to put it down, and we're not going to talk about it anymore, other than talking about how beautiful it is. Look at this, gorgeous. Thank you for letting me ramble a little bit about that. It is very important to me. I will also include resources in the comments for those who might feel like they can maybe use a little extra support themselves. And my inbox is always open. I am not a trained professional, but I am very good at finding resources, and I'm very resourceful, period. I am very happy to help you seek out the support that would benefit you. And I'm also happy to, if you have experienced a similar loss and you want to tell the story, if you want to share your story, honestly, I would love that. I think that is something that is like very healing for me, at least. So if you are called to do that, my inbox is open, and I would love to hear about your loved one and the amazing human that they were. Okay. Hold on. Now, let's change gears. We more experimentations with color. So this next one is Straighten Your Crown by Little Robin Designs. Now, if you watch my most recent video, you'll know that I was like, what color should I stitch this on? I knew I wanted to use this blue thread that I had got, and I had some really pretty fabric choices, but I could not make a decision. I could not decide. I was crippled. I was like paralyzed. And I was really trying hard to figure out why. And I realized it's because those fabrics, I got them as fat quarters. I don't have a ton of fat quarters. Like, I have a lot of little pieces of fabric that I've collected along the way, but fat quarters are a little less, like, I have fewer. And I was realizing, I was feeling like those particular fat quarters were extra precious, and the idea of cutting into them for a small project felt really, I don't know, it just is. I realized that was what was holding me up. Once I realized that it was about, like, I just didn't want to, like, potentially, like impact my ability to put something big on that fabric that's very beautiful. Like, oh, okay, so let's look at all your fat eighths. And that's what I did. And I found this one, and I was like, yep, you're the one. So it is wild. Very different from the other options I had shown, and I really appreciate all of your feedback and all of your comments and all of your advice. I took them very seriously. I even counted. I was like, maybe I should just count and, like, go with the one that's most popular. Still, then I couldn't do it. And I realized, you know, why. So I went with this crazy color. This is a 32 count Fiberlicious Yummy Fibers. I think it's called Fireworks. I got this at a de-stash table at a retreat, and it is wild. I had no idea what I was going to do with it, but I couldn't pass it up just because I knew someday there would be something I wanted to put on this. And I think this is it. I will say I started it in the center of the fabric, even though that's going to be quite wasteful. It is a very small little pattern. It's long, it's like rectangular, but it is not very like tall. And so you can see, like, this is the top, right? I am wasting a lot of fabric, and I usually don't do that. I usually try to be pretty, like, I'm not like super frugal, but I don't want to waste fabric. Like, that makes me sad because you never know what you need it for. But I will say, if you look at the whole thing together, it does have a certain centrality to it. Like, it felt like the center of that fabric was the center of anything, if that makes sense. And I wanted all of the colors to be represented. And if I started up here, it would look very unbalanced. It would be all red and yellow for like half of the pattern, and then this little taste of blue. I didn't want that. I wanted to be able to include, I wanted it to look appropriately centered on this, I don't know, whatever you call that, the modeling. So I did it. So I'm gonna waste a lot of fabric, and that is what it is. I want to finish this sometime soon. It's like 1,400 stitches altogether. I want to finish this soon, and I want to fully finish it as a pillow, I think, or as a flat fold. I'm not 100% sure, but probably a pillow. And I want to take it to the Queen City Stitch Retreat in October. Quick side tangent. If you're going to Queen City Stitch Retreat in October, please reach out to me and let me know. I want to connect with people. I want to make friends. That's why I'm going. Now, for the brag table at Queen City, because Nora Corbett is the star designer for that retreat, the brag table is supposed to be solely Nora Corbett memorabilia type designs, like finished objects. So I'm not going to try to put it on the brag table, but I want to put it in my stitching spot. Like, I just think it would be so fun to have this displayed, because it says keep your head high and your crown straight, and I just love that sentiment so much. And I love the vivaciousness of it. I love all of the crowns, which goes so well with Queen City. And yeah, so I think I'm gonna try to do that and just have it up as a little visual reminder to everyone who stops by that they are queens and they should keep their head high. Speaking of Queen City, I'm gonna bring in more Stitchy Bling. These are the little giveaways I am crafting. This is kind of what got me started in the first place. I had this vision of something I wanted to make to give away at that retreat, and it took me down a whole rabbit hole. And here I am opening an Etsy shop. Oops, hold on, let me show you. So I just adore these. So they're little scissor fobs, or you could probably use them as a bag charm or, you know, a keychain or whatever. And they have a little crown, and they have QC for Queen City and 25 for 2025. And every one of them is different. Like, they're all a little individual and unique, and I am having so much fun making these. I still have a lot to make, but I'm having so much fun. So if you're going to Queen City, A, message me on Instagram and tell me so I can look out for you and make sure I meet you, and B, come by and get one of these. I'm trying to make enough for every single person who's coming. Hopefully I can get them done in like a month, but yeah. All right. The next one is one that I'm a little ashamed about, that it took me this long to start it, but that's okay. Oh no. So it really hurts to bend over, and I keep dropping things in front of my chair that requires me to bend over. So let me just wait a minute. I'll pull it out if I have to. I just dropped my little board. So this is the 2025 Stitch for Pride Stitch Along. I'm doing the spot sampler. Believe it or not, you wouldn't be able to tell because I literally have one motif almost done. I had started this in January-ish when it came out, like when the start along started, and I had a really hard time with my fabric choice and decided, okay, that's not gonna work. So I really did a back to the drawing board kind of thing, and I'm glad I did. I do think this fabric is gonna be perfect. I also started in the center for this one for the same reason as that last one, because I felt like the way the colors unfolded down the fabric I wanted to take advantage of that and highlight that. So this is a 20 count Aida from the Digi Stitchery on Etsy. So it's a printed Aida. So the back is just white and the printing is on the front. It's opalescent. So I don't know if you can see, but it's like sparkly. It's really pretty. It's called Whipped Frosting, I think. Yeah. And this is the March motif. So I started, instead of starting with January, I started with March because that was the most central top motif. I think it's March, pretty sure. I am stitching with this with a bunch of mini skeins from Dinky Dyes. So they're silks, and these are all, these came from various offcuts sets that I bought. Every once in a while, Dinky Dyes will post on Etsy like sets of 20 little tiny mini skeins of either mist dyes or like the very ends of skeins, I think. So like the colors in here really might not be true to their normal color or their normal like production of that color. But what I did was I just went through and I looked at the called for flosses, and I just said to myself, okay, which Dinky Dyes floss can I use that best represents that? And I came up with a really pretty difference, you know, pretty range here. I am disappointed in myself that I have not kept up as well on this sow, but I also have very low expectations for myself when it comes to sows. So I'm not beating myself up, and I want to enjoy it, and I want to be able to take advantage of all of the educational materials. So, you know, if it takes me 2 years to do that, so be it. It still is beautiful, it's meaningful, it is gorgeous, and I'm gonna learn a lot in the process. And that stitch along is hosted by D's 20 Stitches. It opens up every year so far. It opens up in like December-ish, and then it closes. So you can, and then sometimes they open it up a little bit later in the year, or you can like purchase the whole thing later. But the monthly installments that include really amazing educational resources, those you can, like, you have to sign up in, I think it was like before December 31st, something, I can't remember. So keep an eye out for that for next year. I might do it again. I really enjoy reading the materials and learning, and the designs are beautiful. Yeah, gorgeous. So I'm gonna, it's just a matter of prioritizing that over all the other things I've done, which is a little bit hard right now. Speaking of sows I'm not keeping up with, this is the Fine Frog Stitching, what's it called? Oh my gosh, Abby, what's it called? What is it called? Why isn't it showing up on Twigs and Tea? Twigs and Tea sow. It is awesome. So I've done one other Fine Frog Stitching stitch along. Didn't keep up with that one either. Again, I don't expect myself to. There's no guilt. It is who I am. It's just me. I just think this designer is so creative, and their use of color is amazing. And I am a sucker for anything tea themed. So when I saw this released, like I saw this was coming out, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do it. Even though I, like, generally speaking, try not to commit myself to sow, especially mystery sows, because I just don't keep up with them. And also, also like sometimes I think they unfold and I don't really like necessarily the way they look, or maybe I'm less motivated to stitch them because they don't go with the decor in my house, or I can't imagine a place where I would display them or whatever, right? I always enjoy the stitching part, but like I'm not super motivated to finish them, if you know what I mean. This one I'm super motivated to finish because I am so excited for how it's turning out. I'm not up to date on it, but you know. So the frames were released in early August. I got 3 of the frames done and then I stopped. They have now released, I think, 2 of the like content releases. I think they're coming out every week. They're really cute, and I'm very excited at how they are unfolding. Of course, they're not any of these 3, but I'm gonna do what I did last time on my, I did the Femurs and Frogs sow, which was like spring 2024, I think. So what I'm gonna do is I've done these 3 frames, and then the remaining frames I'm just gonna do when the inner part of them is released. So I'm gonna do the frame and the contents that goes in the frame whenever that is released. And that way I'm not like holding up the main stitching just because I don't have the frames done. And honestly, frames for me are really hard to muscle through. I get real bored. I think especially her frames are very beautiful. They have these 2, it's like this very like there's 2 colorways of brown, and many of her sows have a similar like look or kind of organization to them. They're very pretty. These are kind of Victorian style frames. But I get super, super bored, and that is just me. It's not that her stitching, like, it's not that the pattern is boring, it's that, like, the repetitiveness of it in that moment becomes a little too much for me to muscle through. So it works better with my personality and my preferences to just say, okay, I got a head start, I'm okay, and now I'm gonna just stitch the frame with the contents as they get released. And I'm gonna release myself of any other guilt. This fabric is another Witch's Garden Crafts. Actually, so Fine Frog Stitching stitch-alongs are usually, if not always, on Witch's Garden Crafts. And that's how I was first introduced to Witch's Garden Crafts as a dyer, as a fabric dyer, and it started my obsession with them. I absolutely love their fabrics. So this is at 16 count Aida. It is gorgeous, gorgeous. It's the called for, and it is called Tea Time, I believe, but I don't know if you can, I think you can get it through their Etsy shop. And it is, if you need a bright, like harvest colored, wheat colored fabric for something, this is, I highly recommend it. It is absolutely stunning. All right, almost done, folks. If you're hanging in with me, I'm so proud of you and grateful. Just 2 more things to talk about. So these were actually pre-op starts. These were before my surgery and recovery. These were my Christmas in July starts, and they were really fun to work on. Okay, so the first one I'll show you is one that I think I'm probably gonna restart, unfortunately. This is on the naughty list. It's a pattern by Silver Creek Samplers. It is absolutely adorable. And I bought this out. This was part of the Black Needle Society's like Advent box last year, I believe. And then they released the pattern individually through their vault, which is like just their online store of all of the surplus things they have. So I ordered it through that. And I have a beagle who, I don't know if you've been able to see, she's outside raising hell right now, but I have a beagle mix who is very naughty, as all beagles are, but she's also sweet and adorable, and I love her. And she's really my son's dog. It's a classic, like, a boy and his dog situation. Like, Lily is his dog. I mean, I love her too, and she loves me, but that boy is the center of her universe. So I wanted to stitch this. I am going to, here's what I have so far, and I'll explain why I think I'm gonna restart it. Well, you might be able to see it. So I am just doing a fancy floss conversion because I want to, because I have this beautiful red that is like, oh, I love it so much. The red is really my major motivation. The problem is that I can't find a green that will show up well enough on this gorgeous fabric that makes it easy to read. Like, it's just as hard to read in real life as it is on camera there. Like, you have to literally like hold it at an angle to really understand what it says. And I did stitch a couple letters because immediately I knew it was gonna be a problem, but I was like, well, maybe if it's all together, it'll be okay. And like, you can be able to like tell. It's just not working. And every other green I have and have ordered in the meantime, I've tried, at least held it up against it. I just don't think it's gonna work on this fabric. This fabric is a 36 count Mirage linen by Picture This Plus. It is an absolutely stunning gray. And this pattern does not, like, or this fabric, I actually have 2 of these Fat Ace. I accidentally put 2 in my cart, and I don't regret it in the end because it's amazing. But it's like, it does not, it deserves better. It deserves to shine. It deserves to like absolutely rock the pattern that is stitched on it, and it's not doing that for this. So I have a couple of, so it's called for, it's stitched on like a light blue color, which is actually really nice. In the pictures I'll show you, I will have shown you already, but so I have a couple of blues that are candidates now. And I also I do have a couple of lighter grays that I think could maybe get across the same like general scheme I was going for without being invisible. So I'm gonna, I did do my best. I tried out a couple different colors, and I'm just like, you know what? No, I'm gonna pick these out so I can use this full Fat Eighth for something that truly will shine and will showcase the glory that is this fabric. It is so beautiful. The other piece I also have, I'm working on a project and it looks great on that project, so, or with that pattern, so. All right, and then my other start for Christmas in July was Christmas Parade, and I am so excited. to have started this project. So this has been on my wish list for a long time. As soon as I saw it, I just thought it was so adorable. I'm not much of like a seasonal stitcher, although I do like Christmas, like holiday themed stitching. And I'm not like a huge Santa person. Like I don't know, like I'm not drawn to those patterns necessarily, but I loved the one with the beagle because the beagle, and it's just so cute, and like, it's just the humor in it is like what I enjoy. And then for this pattern, I loved the way the little woodland animals were walking and like literally parading behind Santa Claus. So this one was just so cute, and I loved it from the beginning. And so it's been on my wish list for quite a while. And the cool thing is that Jess from Sloan Stitches had a giveaway recently back in June, I believe, where the gift was that if you shared your 1, 2, 3 stitch wish list with her, she would pick something from it and send that to you up to a certain value. And I was selected, which was amazing. I was so excited. And so I went quickly and made sure my wish list was fully updated, and she picked this one. So she sent me the pattern, and she also sent me all the DMCs for it. How amazing is that? So as soon as I got it at the beginning of July, when I got home from vacation, I immediately started it. And this is the first time I've stitched on a Cottage Garden Samplings. Yes, Cottage Garden Samplings pattern. I am really loving how well, like, the flow of their designs. I am really appreciating that. Like, and I love that there are elements that are a little more intricate, but they're repeated. And I love that there's also big chunks of fill-in. So what I've done here is I basically outlined all of Santa and then just started filling him in so that, like, when I'm at a doctor's appointment or I'm traveling, I can just stitch mindlessly. And like, so all of this fill in here is the same red color, and like all of this is white, and his boots are black or gray, So I have kind of set myself up to finish Santa without actually even having to look at the pattern, which is great. I did scan it and put it into markup. This is on, is it an 18 count? Yes, 18 count Ada from Picture This Plus, called Haunted. It's a gorgeous color, and it reminded me of a forest. And that's what this little pattern reminds me of. It reminds me of them that's like walking through the woods in this, One thing I might change, so it does have an alphabet, like, scattered throughout it. I'm not super in love with alphabets, generally speaking. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave out the letters for now. And then I'm gonna finish the rest of it and see how I feel about it. And if I feel like the letters are needed, like they're necessary, I'll put them in. And if I feel like it's okay on its own, I'll leave them out. So that is just a decision I will make later on. So yeah, I'm loving this. Thank you, Jess. Like, love it. So I really did enjoy my Christmas and July stitching. Those two were the highlights of that. And I also worked on several whips and just really had a lot of fun with it. All right, so we are an hour and a half in. If you've made it this far, you're amazing, and I'm so grateful for you. Like I said, we are done with talking about my new starts. I do want to do a giveaway. So if you made it this far, your reward for your tolerance of my babbling is a giveaway. In honor of all the owl stitching that I have been doing and thinking about, I want to give away some owl goodies. So I have these 3 scissor fobs that are owl themed. I have this little guy, I have this little funny guy, and I have this pink one. It's really cute. So I have 3 scissor fobs to give away that are owl themed, and I will send them to anywhere in the world. If you want to be entered into that giveaway, so I'll pick 3 winners, which is great. You guys have a high likelihood of winning, depending on how many people enter. Put the word hoot, H-O-O-T. I had a moment of panic, and I was like, oh my God, my microphone died again. I was about ready to lose it. It's on, okay. Okay, so put the word hoot so use the word hoot in a comment, H-O-O-T. Like, life's a hoot. I don't know, anything. You can even just literally put the word hoot and I'll be fine with it. I will use a random picker to select 3 winners, and I will ship that scissor fob, one of those scissor fobs to you. Please be over the age of 18 because I have to ask for your address. And also, please be a subscriber to the channel. And and I will be happy to mail that anywhere in the world for you. It's very light, so it's not like it's gonna cost a ton. Yeah, so that's my giveaway for that one. When I do my whip update later on, I will have some additional giveaways for that. I have them, you can hear my dog barking. I have already have those kind of set aside and in mind, but these felt good because I'm doing all these new owl starts, and I wanted to give away some of my little owl goodies that I've been making. Okay, well, thank you so much for sticking with me. If you are here, and even if you don't want to like do the giveaway, put a little owl emoji in the comments if you made it this far, because then I'll know, oh my gosh, you guys are awesome, and I'm really, that's amazing. So put a little owl emoji in there if you want to let me know that you made it this far. And in the meantime, just know that if you are, I want to say this. Okay, so if you're struggling with any mental health stuff, just know that like you are loved, and there are people out there, I know for a fact, there are people out there that love you and that believe that the world is a better place because you're in it. And so if you need support or want support, please do not hesitate to reach out. I am offering to be a person who can help you navigate. Again, I'm not a trained professional, but I am resourceful, and I'm also a good listener. So if you want to share your story or someone else's story, or if you just feel like it would be good to connect with someone who might get it, please know that my inbox is open, and that it is open and it is available without judgment. I am here if you need me. I want people to know how there are many people in the world who know that your existence matters, even if you can't quite connect with that in this moment, right? Okay, now that I've said that piece, thank you for being here. I will try to upload another video soon. I'm also thinking about filming some Flosstube extras to talk a little bit about my process of, I also reorganized my floss stash. All these different things. I'm kind of thinking about maybe uploading some videos about that, and if you're interested in that, let me know, because that would kind of motivate me to actually do that. But then hopefully I'll be back within a week or two, and I will talk about all the whips I've been working on and update you on all the projects that you have grown attached to, all of my projects you've grown attached to over the last few months. And just know that I am grateful for all of you, and I value the friendships I've been making and the connections I've been making through this channel. I just still can't believe it, that this is real life some days. So, all right, I hope you're all getting great stitching time in, and I wish you the best. Bye.